What's going on? All right, let me make sure we're good here. We're golden. All right, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for being with me. Wow. So I did a little short video just on Facebook earlier, and even on Instagram, just, talking about the docs. And, look, when they have top security docs, highly classified docs, and, I have an envelope here or a vanilla folder, and, there might be a doc in here, might be a top security doc in here. I'm just saying, I got another one here. It might be a, top security doc in here. Because once you look in here, and if it says anything top secret or whatever, you got to look at it. You can't even look at it. I think I have another one here. Here's a doc has a. Oh, wait a minute! This is bizarre, is it not? You can't make this stuff up. You really can't. You can't. There's no way. It's not even possible. Not unless you're just doing like a story, writing a book or something and just making stuff up. But this, you can't make it up. Wow. Do me a favor. My name is Will Johnson. UniteAmericaFirst.com is my website. Please share this video. Hit the share button. If it's presented for you, okay? Or if you're not scared, hit the share button, because I know there's some people that's scared to hit the share button because they don't want people to know that they agree with Will Johnson. And I get it. But this is so bizarre. And of course, when the story first broke, remember I told you, I said there's so many holes in this story. Because the liberal media, when it first came out in the first location with these docs, the liberal media came out there like they normally do to Biden's rescue, trying to defend him and trying to make up every excuse under the sun why it was okay for him to have these classified documents in an unsecure location. It was behind a locked closet. Okay. It was behind a locked closet. That makes it secure. And that's what they were saying. It was behind a locked closet. Right. And I mean, Biden, and it was at this location called Penn Biden Center, the Penn Biden Center, where he was like labeled a professor, but he never gave a single class. I mean, he could at least did one course, or 1 hour, 50 minutes and just get in there and talk. But he didn't even do that. But now we got a second location with these documents coming out, and they act like it's, like I said, they jumped to the rescue trying to say, oh, you know what? This is just something. He said he doesn't know what they are. The lawyers told him, don't even acknowledge that you know what they are. Don't tell anybody that you know what they are. Don't even think about it. He doesn't even know where he is half the time. Right. So it's probably truthful that he doesn't even remember what they are. So he doesn't know what they are. But they got there some kind of way. Somebody did something and they grabbed him off his desk when he was VP or somewhere, and they put him in a location where he had an office. Now, I want to play this first one for you. This one, was many of you have already seen this, where listen, I want y'all, this is a recap. Listen to what he says about documentation, classified documentation. Listen to this. Listen.
People know I take classified documents and classified information seriously. When my lawyers were clearing out my office at the University of Pennsylvania, they set up an office for me, secure office in the Capitol. The 4 years after being vice president, I was a professor at Penn. They found some documents in a box in a locked cabinet, or at least a closet. And as soon as they did, they realized there were several classified documents in that box.
You see, he said several classified documents in the box. Now, the new location, which they haven't said, maybe you know where the new location is. I haven't seen it as of yet. But the new location, they said it was in the first location, they said it was less than a dozen documents. In the new location, they said it's a new batch. So I don't know what that means. What does new batch mean? A new batch of documents. What does that mean? Is it 5 documents? Is it 10 documents? Is it a dozen documents? Is it 24? Is it a big box of documents? What does a new batch even mean? But that's their lingo. And if you listen to the liberal media, that's exactly what they're all saying right now. A new batch of documents. That's what they're saying. That's the new lingo, right? And they all get the same memo. Make sure you say a new batch. Don't put the number out there, because I'm guessing that this new number is a lot larger than less than a dozen. So I'm suspecting that it's a lot larger if they say a new batch. I'm guessing. I don't know. But listen to this. I want to share this with you because, see, I'm telling you, the liberal media, they jump out there automatically to protect the Biden crime family.
Vice President found these at a second location. They were found during a search conducted after other classified documents were found in Biden's former office, back in November, just before the midterm election. Evan Perez is out front in Washington. And Evan, obviously this is not a headline they would have wanted. What more are you learning about a second batch of documents?
This is not a headline that you would have wanted? Really? You're just supposed to report on the news. What do you mean this is not a headline that you would have wanted? Really? Is she talking about Biden? Or is she talking about them?
Right. It's not a welcome headline, Aaron, especially as the Justice Department, as Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, is weighing next steps, whether to launch a full criminal investigation.
Okay, wait a minute. First of all, it is a welcome headline. It really is, because the corruption of the Biden crime family and the corruption of the Democrats is being exposed. They're not welcoming the headline because, hey, they can't hide it. They can't stay away from it because it's pretty damaging.
Of this issue, whether to perhaps even go to the direction of bringing in a special counsel to do an investigation. Those are among the things that could happen next. And what we know from this is that the Biden aides did a broader search after finding those initial documents that they turned over to the National Archives. Of course, we know that there were 10 classified documents that were found there. We don't know how many documents of classification levels were found in this batch, but
see, did you hear the key word? I'm telling you, that is it. They all got the same memo in this batch. Right? Why don't you just say in this round of documents? And, this time they said it was aides that found this one, right? It was Biden aides that found the next batch of documents. So if it was, did they look at the documents? They had to know, they had to look at them at some point. They had to go, oh, here's a document. And they had to get it and they had to go, oh, what is this? And they had to open it up and see what was in there. At some point, right? Someone was looking at the document. Oh, you can't see that. You're not supposed to see that. What in the world? Listen to this. Obviously,
what this does is it raises more questions. Are there other documents? And there's certainly among the questions that you hear, people at the Justice Department and the FBI who have, which is, are there possible other classified documents at other locations? Because we know, obviously, it's been a number of years since Joe Biden left the vice presidency. So we don't know whether there's additional searches being done, but that's certainly among the things that the Justice Department will be considering as to whether or not to launch a fuller investigation, Aaron.
Okay. Wait a minute. They found the first batch of documents, and then they took it upon themselves to say, well, you know what? We need to go look for other documents. Biden when he was VP, he never had any authorization to declassify any classified documents. He didn't have that authority. He did not have that authority. Like right now, Kamala Harris doesn't have that authority. Mike Pence did not have that authority. President Trump did. And have y'all heard anything from Obama? Obama could step in and say, well, but Obama's staying away from this. I'm telling you. Or he could step in and try to help Joe out and say, you know what? I put those there for Joe. I declassified those for Joe. He could step in, but I want to hear from Obama. I really do. What does Obama have to say all about this? Because this happened under his watch. Biden was taking classified documents from the White House out into public, into unsecure locations while he was with Obama. Is that not a problem? Listen, it gets better.
Evan, thank you very much. And I want to go now to the Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter, who has announced she is running for a U.S. Senate seat in the state of California. And Congresswoman, I appreciate your time. I'm glad to speak to you again. So let's just start off with the news, because we knew you were coming on, then this news comes out. More documents in another location. That's pretty much all we know right now. What's your reaction?
Now, watch this. And she's a Democrat, and she's going to come on in and she's going to defend Joe Biden, and she's going to bring up President Trump and try to say, oh, this is much worse than President Trump. Oh, no. She says President Trump's Mar-a-Lago is much worse. But I have something to share with all of you about that. Listen to what she says.
Classified documents belong in classified settings. And if we're having consistent problems across parties with exiting government officials, not putting those classified documents where they belong, then I think that's something that we should take up. Oversight isn't about partisanship. It's about making sure that protocols, procedures, rules, laws that keep us all safe are being followed. So I'm assuming that will happen in this case, and I'll follow up to make sure it does. Okay, so she says she's going to follow up. I don't believe her. I don't believe Democrats when they say they're going to actually do something that is, right? And the only thing she's going to follow up on is try to get at President Trump. Now, I have something that many of y'all have not heard about, the files that were placed at Mar-a-Lago. Many of you haven't heard about it, and I'm going to show you proof tonight.
So one source close to the legal team for Trump tells CNN, quote, "This is huge for us." Now, of course, Trump hid and hid his documents, right? Didn't give them under subpoena, right? So it's a different situation on the face of it. However, do you think that this actually helps Trump? That it shows that in the case of Biden, that other people have classified documents? Does this muddy the waters?
Now watch this response, and then I'm going to go to the proof of what both of them are actually just lying. They just lied. She just lied first, her, and now listen to the other one lie.
Trump's problems are of his own making with regard to classified documents, and they are extensive. And as you note, the situations are different. I think it's important, though, to go back to the first principle. As I said, classified documents belong in classified settings, and they should be treated as such. And if that's been a problem in this case, we should take corrective action. And I think we should take corrective action with regard to former President Trump, whose violations of this very principle are much more extensive, much more serious, and much more grave for our country's national security.
You hear this? She said it's much more extensive and greater to our national security. With that said, let me play this one for you. Where is it at? Where you at? This one here. Listen to what this young man says. He's out of the state of Florida. Listen to what he says about the docs that were at Mar-a-Lago. The entire liberal media, all of them have been lying. And of course, now that we have a new House Congress, that this information is actually coming out. Listen carefully.
I want to see them investigated in the proper way. Let's outline the very literal difference between this and Mar-a-Lago.
Okay. He's talking about the Biden docs that are placed out various parts of the country, apparently, versus President Trump's docs at Mar-a-Lago. I'm not going to stop it again, but you need to pay attention. Well, I say I'm not going to stop it. Listen.
With Mar-a-Lago, all those documents were specifically delivered by the National Archives and Records Administration.
Did you hear that? I'm sorry. I know I said I wasn't going to stop it, but let me take it back for those of you that didn't hear it. There's some people that are slow out there, and they were like, what did he just say? What did he just say?
With Mar-a-Lago, all those documents were specifically delivered by the National Archives and Records Administration. They boxed it up in the White House or other places. They put it in a truck. They taped it up. They delivered it. They put it behind the doors, locked the doors. It does not appear in this instance that these items were delivered by the National Archives and Records Administration to what we could probably affectionately call Lobbyist Row, put it in office there above restaurants and other places. They were taken there through some other means, not delivered by the federal government. That is a very specific distinction on how this is different from President Trump.
You're hearing this. Did y'all hear this? He just sit there and said that the National Archives picked up the documents that they're all rapping and raving about, and they delivered them to Mar-a-Lago. Please make it make sense. Please make it make sense. And they're trying to say that it's worse what President Trump did. President Trump didn't do anything wrong. Come on. They tried to set President Trump up. So it brings up to another question. it brings it to another point here. Did the National Archives know what they were doing when they took the documents from the White House and delivered them to Mar-a-Lago? Did they know what they were doing? That they were setting President Trump up? Because after the National Archives delivered, you just heard him say it. It's not me saying it. I just got this today, and I'm like, what? So they delivered the documents from the National Archives, delivered the documents from the White House, put them on a truck, delivered them to Mar-a-Lago. The FBI paid a visit because they knew that President Trump had the docs because the National Archives took him there. And then after the first visit, the FBI went back again and they raided Mar-a-Lago. Then they raided Mar-a-Lago talking about where's the other documents. If any documents from the White House to Mar-a-Lago got lost, then they need to go investigate the National Archives. They need to ask them, because the first time they showed up, they didn't have any issues, and they told President Trump to take extra measures and lock up the documents that he still has remaining. But then you have this one. Oh my goodness. This is so explosive, people. This is like worse than Watergate. This is worse than any conspiracy, worse than any scandal. This is like the biggest scandal ever. And these Democrats are getting exposed for all the scandals that they've been doing. Now, of course, they're asking Kareem JeanPierre about these docs. And to my understanding, this press conference was before everyone got wind of the second round of docs. This was before. Listen to this.
In the position you're holding right now, there are no assurances you can provide at this point that there are no other classified documents out there in any other office and or home.
Again, this is an ongoing process, so I'm going to let the process continue. It is being reviewed by the Department of Justice, and I'm just going to leave it there.
Oh, it's being reviewed by the Department of Justice, which we all know that the DOJ is corrupt. Garland is corrupt, right? He's corrupt. And this is making all of them look bad. Here's another
Just ask if you have any information about why the president's personal attorneys were at the Penn Biden Center in the first place. Were they looking for something specific? Was there something specific they were doing going through these documents? It just seems like to send, if it was just routine moving stuff, to send a personal attorney to do that.
I would refer you to the White House counsel's very extensive kind of information on Monday that they provided. So I refer you to that.
Oh, don't ask me about it. Don't ask me about it. Get away from me about it. I don't want to talk about it. But you gotta love Peter Doocy. You gotta love Peter Doocy. Peter Doocy, he's like these moments just land. They just land in his lap every single time. These moments, and Kareem JeanPierre hates the fact that Peter Doocy is sitting there asking these questions.
On these documents, how could anyone be that irresponsible?
And then look at her. She's trying to act like, oh crap, he just asked me that question. No, Biden I just played the video where Biden was on 60 Minutes and said it's really irresponsible for Trump. And Trump didn't do anything. The National Archives delivered him to Mar-a-Lago. Trump didn't do anything wrong. But Biden did. Look at her.
Isn't that what this president says about mishandling classified documents?
The president spoke to this personally. He spoke to this personally. He believes that classified documents and information should be taken seriously. He takes them seriously, and he was surprised to learn by any records had been. I disagree.
And this was before the second round of docs came out. This is before the second round. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, people. And she's sitting there she's defending Joe Biden. And that's her job. She's supposed to defend Joe Biden. Any criminal activity that he does, she's supposed to defend him because that's her position.
Have you spoken to the president about these documents and their discovery?
I have not spoken. Well, first of all,
now, this is the number one topic, not just in the Republican political realm, but this is also in the liberal political realm because they're all over there trying to defend Joe Biden. You mean to tell me that she didn't take 5 minutes to have a conversation with him at all? That's her job. She's literally speaking for him. That is her job. She's supposed to have this information so when she comes out there to the podium, she can answer the questions. Again, she's terrible at this job. Why wouldn't she talk to him about this when this is the main thing buzzing around? I'm just waiting for the red flag to show up. something else to pop out of nowhere.
I have not spoken to the president about any of this specifically because he's laid out what he knows. He has said he doesn't know what is in them, so there's no way for me to talk about the documents if he has said he doesn't know what's in them. And we're just going to allow the process to continue.
Let the process to continue. Allow the corruption to continue. Garland's all on top of this. The DOJ's on top of this. You know, the same DOJ that's been completely corrupt is all on top of this, right? There's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
The president acknowledged yesterday that he had been briefed that those documents had been found. When was he briefed that those documents had been found?
So let me just lay this down a little bit because it's just for folks who happen to not be following this. Look, the president addressed this issue yesterday. He addressed it on in Mexico City on a world stage in front of many of you at a press conference.
Now, let me remind you, this is before the second batch of documents came out. Before the second batch. Because they're still referring to the first batch because that's what he was referring to. That's what he was talking about. You got to ask yourself a question, though. Why didn't the Biden aides hide this information? Or maybe they did hide the information and it was just too much for them to hide and it just came out. And when did they look at the second batch? When did they find the second batch that they won't give a number for?
With two of our closest neighbors, as you all know, and he said he takes classified documents and information seriously.
Really?
He was surprised to learn any records had been found there. He doesn't know what was in them. He said this, just repeating what the president has said.
Well, because Biden is saying that because his lawyers told him to say that. Don't even ask what's in them. Don't even ask. Don't even ask anybody what's in them. Play ignorant, play stupid. Not that it's difficult, but they're telling them to play stupid.
As soon as his lawyers realized these documents were there, they did the right thing and immediately turned them over to the archives. As he said, his team is cooperating fully with the review. And we also released a statement from the White House counsel's office, as you know, on Monday, which had information, detailed information about the particular situation. As my colleagues in the council have stated and said to all of you yesterday, this is an ongoing process under the review of the Department of Justice. So we are going to be limited on what we can say here.
They're going to be limited on what you can say there. But, you know, they're quick to talk about President Trump. They're quick to say that President Trump broke the law. They're quick to say President Trump was fighting the National Archives when the National Archives delivered the documents to Mar-a-Lago. You can't make this stuff up, people. And it's no wonder that they were hiding all of this information because they don't want people to actually know the truth. They want to keep it as quiet as possible. Let me see.
But did not answer this part of the question. Why didn't he or someone in the White House inform the American people when these documents were discovered on November 2nd?
You see, now, the first set of documents that they were talking about yesterday before the second set of documents of the next batch, it was November 2nd of 2022. November 2nd of 2022. And they knew about it then. And you have to, and you have the media going, well, why didn't anyone say anything then? I mean, it's the media, especially the press corps, they seem to be really, really, really slow. I mean, they're really slow about figuring out things, even though it's right there in front of their face, and they're really slow. Why did they not tell anybody about the Hunter Biden laptop? Why did they, right before, a particular election day, right? Why did they hide the information, the true information about Russia, in the whole dossier right before election? Why did they do that? Why did they raid Mar-a-Lago right before the election? Why did they do any of this stuff right before the election? And if they can, they cover it up right before the election. The media, the press corps, they're very slow in figuring all that out.
Did it have anything to do, because people are asking this part of it, did it have anything to do with the fact that the election was just a few days away?
Again, Ed, this is under review by the Department of Justice. It is literally under review right now. As I am talking to you, it is under review. So I'm not going to get beyond the process. I'm not going to get beyond what the president said.
Of course not. Of course not. Because how do you justify this? How do you justify it? You have documents right? They have these documents. Look, I have one right here. Right? Here's a document. You can't see what's in it because it's top secret, right? You're not supposed to see what's in it because it's top secret. You cannot see what's in this document, right? Because it's top secret. Need to put it in the closet somewhere so you can't see it, can't read it. But hey, if you're just a lawyer going over cleaning up, moving stuff out of the office, or if you're Biden aides and you just happen to see these docs, then it's perfectly fine, right? It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Right? Now, let me play something else for you. This one is showing the difference. I want to play this one for you. This young man, again, he's from the state of Florida, and he talks about the difference between Joe Biden and President Trump. Listen to what he says.
Want to see them investigated in the proper way. Let's outline the very literal difference between this and Mar-a-Lago. With Mar-a-Lago, all those documents were specifically delivered by the National Archives and Records Administration. They boxed it up in the White House or other places. They put it in a truck. They taped it up. They delivered it. They put it behind the doors, locked the doors. It does not appear in this instance that these items were delivered by the National Archives and Records Administration to what we could probably affectionately call lobbyist row, put it in office there above restaurants and other places. They were taken there through some other means, not delivered by the federal government. That is a very specific distinction on how this is different from President Trump.
I had to play it one more time so everyone that missed it can hear it, because it's not just Will Johnson saying it. See, I say it because they said it. I'm just sharing it. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. That's so explosive. That is so explosive that the National Archives delivered the doc that they've all been screaming about to Mar-a-Lago. Is no one else catching this? Is Will Johnson on it? And then what's really interesting is that he mentions that on Fox News, and she didn't go, wait a minute, what do you mean that the National Archive delivered the documents to Mar-a-Lago that they raided his home over? What do you mean they delivered? They delivered them. You can't make it up. You really can't make this stuff up. It's so bizarre. It's like Bizarro World. It really is. It's like Bizarro World. And this stuff is actually happening this way in Bizarro World. Is really bizarre. Okay, let me talk about another story if we can. And actually, I was just gonna end it here and go to just specifically Rumble, but I'm not going to do that tonight. Let me go to another one here because this one is really important as well. Now, I have to be slightly sensitive about, or careful how I pronounce this or present this rather, because they really don't, you know how they get. Okay. Did you hear what happened with the airline system? I'm pretty sure you have, because that's another huge story, right? That's another huge story. Did it? Wait a minute. 2 and 2 together. So we have these docs that Biden has, these classified documentations, and then we have this issue with the airline. No, it can't be. That can't be a red flag because that wouldn't stop one story from another story. It has to be something a lot bigger. But okay, move on. Pete Buttigieg is over the transportation in the United States of America, and he couldn't even fix the potholes when he was mayor. He couldn't even fix the potholes. There's major potholes because of him. But then you have this major outage of the transportation, the airline transportation, and they're all acting dumbfounded. They're all acting like, well, we don't know. We have to look into this. Thank
you, Kareem. First, does President Biden have confidence in Transportation Secretary Buttigieg?
Yes.
Why?
Because Secretary Buttigieg he respects the secretary and the work that he has been doing.
What work has Pete Buttigieg done? What work has he done? What work has he done? There hasn't been anything positive. I mean, look, I mean, he hasn't done anything. This is a major issue here.
You have seen the secretary on TV. You have probably spoken to him yourself, and they are doing everything that they can to make sure that the experience that Americans have is a good one.
So you've seen him on TV? What does that mean? We see her on TV all the time, or either on the internet. We see her all the time, and she lies and lies and lies. What does that mean? There's no confidence. Let me ask you, do you have confidence in her? Because I most definitely don't. Do you have confidence in Pete Buttigieg? Because I most definitely don't. Listen to what Pete Buttigieg said about this outage that took place. And it was like for 90 minutes to my understanding. And it was thousands of flights. Just all come to a screeching halt. And to my understanding, it was an entire nation. Now, there's a reason why I believe that this happened, and the federal government can't say why it happened. And you know what? To an extent, I understand, because we don't want panic, because this might be something more than they are letting on. Think about it.
Is there a critical vulnerability here where the entire country had to be stopped because of something that probably, involved one sector or another?
Well, again, part of what you're seeing here is an abundance of caution and making absolutely certain that operations were safe. But this is one of the reasons why we need to get these answers and have this review of exactly what happened, because we need to understand whether this reflects a systemic issue and what would be required so that there's no single point of failure here. Again, there need to be redundancies and layers of protection here.
I mean, he's acting like the redundancies and layer protections aren't already there. Now, I've worked IT for 20 plus years, and I put in redundancies and layers of security. That's part of the job. And I've been doing it for over 20 years. That's it. You always have to put in security. There's network security. There's file security. There's so much different things that you can put in for security, and you have to put these things in place. And for redundancy, can you imagine getting on an airplane? There's no redundancy. A lot of airplanes have two motors, especially the big airlines, they have two engines. One engine go out, it pretty much can survive and at least land with one engine. This is called redundancy. But if both engines go out, you're in a bit of a scare. We'll just put it that way. But there are redundancies in place. What he's not telling you is how this happened and what happened, what caused it, what was the reason.
This is an incredibly complex system. So glitches or complications happen all the time, but we can't allow them to ever lead to this level of disruption, and we won't ever allow them to lead to a safety problem.
I think it already has. And, there's other things that's going behind this that a lot of people are wondering exactly what happened. Is it pretty damaging? Now, listen to the Communist News Network about this subject.
At the end of the day, travelers stranded for hours on end as the meltdown created a total bottleneck. The FAA acknowledging tonight that a damaged database file caused the system outage. They still don't know how that corruption happened or how such a thing, just think about that. The entire country's skies were shut down, right? You think about other times that happened, 9/11. This was just a snafu. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg telling CNN the system outage could be an indication that the FAA system is outdated and needs to be replaced. Well, that's a problem. Harry Enton joins me now. So, Harry, let's just start with the people impacted by this who were flying all across the country. This is unbelievable to think of the skies empty. People have gotten used to bad times at airports, but this was unbelievable.
This is unbelievable. It's, as you were hinting at, it's just part of this sort of long train of problems that passengers have faced as they've tried to fly, right? We had Southwest, all those delays. And what we essentially know is that passenger complaints since, let's say, go back to 1998, they're up 547%. You look at since 2019, right, just before pre-pandemic, up over 300%. The fact of the matter is that passengers are getting sick and tired of all of this. They do not like all these delays. What a big shocker. But this is just something that's really wearing on the airline industry at large.
You know what they're leaving out, they're conveniently leaving out, is exactly what caused this outage. And are also leaving out a very key point, that this wasn't happening like this under President Trump. Anyone else recognize that? Or is it just Will Johnson? Is there something Will Johnson recognized again? This was not happening under President Trump. Of course, we had issues. Well, and the biggest issue under President Trump is with the whole fake, fraudulent Russia collusion delusion. Them trying to impeach President Trump over fraudulent information. $42 million later with the Mueller report. All of that's fraudulent. 100%. And because nothing ever came of it, except for in the House where they was completely corrupt. Nancy Pelosi and a whole lot of them. 100% corrupt. But they don't mention that this didn't happen under President Trump. Is there a coincidence? Is there a reasoning for that? What would be the cause of it not happening under President Trump, but yet all this stuff happening under the current regime? What would cause that? The energy crisis. Now we have the flight crisis, the baby formula crisis, the border crisis, the eggs and milk crisis. We have all of these issues, but not a single one of them want to acknowledge that. Okay. I have one more video that I want to share with you, but I'm going to do this one on Rumble only. If you want to join me and check it out, there's a link in the YouTube video for you to see, for you just to click on it, come over to Rumble and check it out, because this next one, I know that these YouTube and Facebook, they don't want me to play this next one for you. I know it for a fact. Right. And they try to act like it's safe for you to do it, but it's just a setup. When they say that, oh, yeah, you can talk about certain things, it's a setup. And this next video I'm going to show you has a lot to do with President Trump. Join me. Oh, yeah. And for those of you that are on Facebook and YouTube, thank you so much. T West, thank you so much for the blessings. Thank you so much for that super chat. And let me look real quick. I apologize. Let me do this. Let me do this before we go. Let me do this because they actually made a way where I can actually see if someone blessed me with stars, and I didn't even look. Yep, here we go. Brian, George, Jennifer, Tammy, and Mayor, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the stars on Facebook. I really do appreciate it. They do mean extremely a lot to me. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for those of you that shared the video as well. All right. I'm headed over now to Rumble. I'm headed over into Rumble because I have a video there that I want to show you. It's just one video, so come join me. Come join me. Like I said, I would play them here, but for obvious reasons, I can't. Okay? It is what it is. All right. I'm going for real this time. And thanks again for the blessings. I'm just waiting for it to clear up here. All right, here we go. Okay. It really sucks that I have to do this.